La 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 la. Let's see if anybody comes in and joins today. Hello, we've got one viewer. How are you doing? Audio's good? Awesome. Yeah, the little indicator lights down here make it look like it's really weak. Got some new folks this time. I haven't live streamed like forever. It's like I was actually taking a nap and then decided I'm gonna come out and live stream because why not? How's everybody doing tonight? I don't know, sardonic. Is that a play on words? Hello, acronautics. Hey, thanks, man. So what do you guys want the topic to be? You guys are early, you get to pick. I think there's definitely a lag tonight. We could talk about who's in the hopper, the folks that are going to be on the show very soon, who's recorded, who's showing up. Sneak preview for you guys. We've got it's a quiet group tonight. So the next person to show up is going to be what FPV means to me personally. I would say it's gone through iterations. Initially when I first started getting into it, it was really an obsession. And I spent a lot of time building, flying, crashing, repeat. And it was just the newness of it was pretty amazing. At some point, I wanted to make it a career. And sadly, I don't know that that's going to be in the books for me. I don't know. We'll see. There's still a lot of gas left in this particular hobby, I think. So it could be a career someday, but I don't think I'm ever going to be an elite pilot. But nowadays, I like it as a chance to communicate, a chance to learn, and a chance to get to know people that I've looked up to in the industry for a while. So, getting to interview Trappy, Chad Capper. I've got interviewed Bob Ruge. Quite a few folks that I've enjoyed watching for a while or bought their products, and now I get to learn more about them. So it's kind of exciting to do that. Yeah, I mean, I've toyed around. After I did the Vanover interview, I've toyed around with doing some racing locally and just trying my hand at it again. Because when I first tried, it wasn't very good. Let's see. Sardronic, is this your business page, Mr. Leno? Where's your regular page? I will say, Big Data Pimp. I would imagine that he works in the tech industry. It probably is. You know what? I recently reached out to a friend of mine who's a helicopter pilot. He was a helicopter pilot for the Navy, and I was like, "Hey, how much does it cost to get my helicopter pilot's license?" And he was like, "You could probably send one of your kids to a year of college for that." It's like, okay, maybe I won't do that, but I think he said somewhere between $15,000-$25,000 to get your helicopter's license, helicopter pilot's license, and then the aircraft themselves are super expensive. But I watched this one YouTube couple called Becky and Chris, and he's a pilot. And they go on these dates and trips, and it's really fun. But it would be super fun to be able to fly for real, as opposed to just in the goggles. I got you. Paul One says he raced with Tyler when he first started out. Yeah, I've heard he was really good. And I mean the guy's an F-15 pilot now, so Big Data Pimp, nickname from the Marines. Yeah. Commercial revenue about 30K. Yeah, no, that's true. Like the commercial license get even more to it. But I mean, honestly, if I got a pilot's license, I wouldn't want to necessarily be commercial. I'd want it to be private, whatever that is. Flying for real. I think now I have very little interest in flying planes, and to this day, and I may eat my words one day, but a lot of my friends are getting into wings, and I don't know, man. There's something about a drone, like the ability to like stop and move around, do things, crushing around at 120 miles an hour is exciting, but like I don't know that the wings are the way that I want to go. But if I got an actual pilot's license, I think I would want to do a helo pilot. I'll tease this. Bot Grinder and I talked about a lot of stuff other than FPV. And I think of all the interviews that I've done, and we just did it last night, of all the interviews that I've done, his was the most startling. We got into some super deep topics, and it was pretty intense. So I was quite pleased with how that interview came out. I have no idea how I'm going to cut it up and how I'm going to present it, because all of my interviews now are starting to meld into like one big long segment as opposed to discrete segments, and I think that's just an evolution of what I'm doing. But did I get to fly Nosfer's praying for your son yet? No, I have not. I don't know if that's going to materialize, but we'll see. If it does, that would be cool. Big Data Pimp says his private pilot's license was almost 10 grand, and he did the cheap way possible. Yeah, you can do FPV off your front porch. I do FPV off my front porch. I mean, it's great. Jeffrey Freestyle, thank you. I will tell you this. I learned things about Bot Grinder that I didn't know, and I came away. I've always been a big fan of the guy. I like how he presents himself, and I like how he does. But I came away with like a true respect and greater understanding of who he is. So that was a lot of fun doing that interview. Josu FP. Josu Torres says you should interview Josu FPV. At some point, I want to just pick somebody off a live stream and do that interview. I'm not ready to do that quite yet. I've actually got, so let's see, Zorro's coming out next, and then I've got about 4 or 5 in the bucket. I've got one interview on Tuesday, which would be Wednesday at Australian time. And then I've got another one that I'm doing that I'm actually super excited for, probably next week, towards the end. So started drawing the Bot Grinder interview, like I literally just filmed it last night. So it won't be up for a few weeks yet. Work got crazy. I fell behind on my posting schedule. I got the 3 Trappy interviews out. I pushed those out as hard as I could. So there's still quite a bit of material to go. But the bot grinder one should be really good, and I think you guys will enjoy it. Yeah, but believe me, it will be worth the wait. Like it. So it's a good story and it's a good interview when you can tell your coworkers about it the next day and they're like, "Damn, really? That's intense. Like that's crazy." So that was yeah. UAV tech, there's kind of a pressure to it because I still have to edit them. I still have to film the intros and outros. I figure I'm probably, with actual filming time and then the interview itself, the in and out of the interview, because typically I spend more time than just the interview talking to guests. I'm probably 5 hours in per video, maybe 6. So it's nice to have videos banked, and so far I have more guests than I can put out at any one time. Yeah, Buck Grinder was very cool. You know what? If you fly with them and break stuff, that's kind of like, I think that's his style. That's why his motors are probably the most durable out of the Hype Train series. Hold on, let's see. Somebody was guessing guests that were from Australia. Let's see. Somebody said Oniri Girl, no. Stu, no. Trev, no. I will say this: it's a Yank. It's not a native Australian. Hello, Night Train. Good to see you, buddy. God, I would love to interview Snake, man. So, good story about Snake. I just personally, I like the guy's style. I like the way he flies. I feel like he's a good mix between the flippy floppy and the smoother flying. Yeah, not Chad Nowak. But Snake was one of the first videos I ever watched of Snake. He did to a cover from Halsey. And I don't listen to pop music. Like, I listen to punk, I listen to heavy metal, I listen to all this other stuff. And I heard, I think he did Gasoline by Halsey. And I got hooked on Halsey. And I was like, God, what's happening to me in my old age? I'm starting to like pop music. What is this? Crash Cow. No, it's not an Australian. It's not an Australian. It's somebody that is in Australia, but they are not an Australian. South Carolina, baby. Thank you, Daniel Zawerton. It's hard to read these all the time. Wheats. Bot? No, are you? Hold on, Bot will get this. But let's blur this out. Let's blur this out right here. Bot will get that. We were messing with blur effects. Hello, Mr. Bot Grinder. So, am I interrupting Beers with Bot Grinder? I can shut it off, man. I don't wanna like, ruin the bot vibe. That was not the intent here. I actually forgot I might be in the Bot Grinder live stream. So I can tell you this: one of the bot bombs, or one of the people that you'll see next, is a masked Avenger. He may show up very, very, very soon, like within the next day, if I can get edited. Oh, we got 33 people in live stream now. So tell me, who else have you bot bombed? The bot bomb folks. This is hysterical. Bye, Bot Grinder. guys should all go back and watch Bot Grinder's live feed, and then send them all $1. That was funny. Oh man! All right, so we got Bot Grinder. Cricket's in there. Cricket, I've interviewed Cricket. That dude is chill and cool, and that was fun. You guys want to hear the rest? Okay, so Gunko FPV, I will tell you this. A lot of times after the interview, the camera goes off, we stop recording, and that is when that's when some of the really fun stuff gets talked about. I will tell you that. Chat, Cricket is fun. Cricket's just chill, and I mean, he's as smooth as his freestyle. Doc Murdoch has it. It's not Oni Girl, and I haven't interviewed Wild Willie yet, but I'll talk to him on Tuesday. I need to get Skadoosh on here. He would be fun. That's right, man. You got it. From behind the curtain. Yeah, you guys go jump on the Bot Grinders live stream and Michael Rollins bomb it. Let's see. What else has been going on? Anybody how about this? Anybody on here have any big wins this week? Let's talk about that. Goodbye, Gunko. So this is the only problem with live streaming that I gotta sort out, is that there's like this lag between when I ask a question and when people actually see. That's the menace. Oh, that was hysterical. All right. I think that this has been a successful live stream. We had a good talk with Bot Grinder and team. I think we should all go over and watch Bot Grinder's live stream now, and have beers with Bot Grinder. Because I don't want to, I don't want to encroach on his territory, right? Like, might get a cacao. You never know. No. Two-stroke. Let's see, who's two-stroke? Yeah, man, 25-mile-an-hour winds. I mean, you can fly in that, but it's no fun. I've done it. I remember. So hold on, let me find it. This beast right here. This was my first drone, which like pieces are falling off it now. KK2 board, Simon K ESCs, some Sunny Sky, 2212 motors, and I flew at line of sight. That was a blast, but I had to paint the different colors because I would lose orientation on it. So I had to know what was front and what was back. Hey, thanks, Big Data Pimp. No, man, those are not 920 kVs. These are 1400 kVs, and I ran it on 3S. That was like, I had no idea what I was doing. A friend of mine, I walked in, that's how I got into drones. A friend of mine, I walked into a friend's garage, looked over in the corner, and there was an unfinished drone sitting there. I was like, I'll trade you a computer for that. And he got monetarily the best bet on that one, but I got to fly drones. So I think I was putting 8-inch props on it. Let's see. Hold on, if I can read the. No, 8-inch, 8 by 4.5. So yeah, 8-inch props, and it flew like a brick. It was fun though. Yeah, 1400 kV with 8-inch props is maybe a little aggressive. 4.5 pitch. That was fun. And it's not even a real flame wheel. It's like a knockoff. Let's see. Thank you, helicopter. Go work, man. I'm reading it. Let's see. Got a modified Miracle 2212 920 motors with 10-inch props and a 6,000 milliamp hour pack. Is it FPV Doc Murdoch or is it just line of sight? Because I've always thought about going back to one of those really big builds and making it FPV. Because I wasn't flying FPV at the time. Night Train, I am like terrified of X Class. I think I see people racing X Class, and my buddy Donald Striffler does it. And I look at all that little good night helicopter. I look at all the netting that they put up to protect you, and I'm like, man, if one of those X Class drones decided to go squirrely, it would just rip right through that. Like that is, oh yeah, terrified of the cost, but like, God, I can't even imagine what would happen. Those things wreck, and it's just catastrophic. So the races, like flying one of those things through gates, no man, that is too rich for my blood and a little too dangerous. Giant class right now. Almost done just with batteries and 2 ESCs. Yeah, 1200 millimeter. That's huge. An X8. Woo! And I'm running on 12S. I think you got to run them all. At that size, you got to run it on 12S. Yeah, right. XL class. Well, you saw there was the group that put together. It was a hexacopter, the one that Casey Neistat flew on. That actually was an FPV. Is that FPV? No, I think they flew that line of sight. God, 15-inch tri-blades. You know what, Trip Flip? I don't know what defines an X Class. All that I know is that everybody seems to have about the same style frame. They're all X frames, and maybe that's where it comes from. But, yeah. Okay, 300 kV on a 13-inch prop sounds a little bit more sane than 2300 kV. I can imagine you would blow things up with the 2300 kV. But well, still got you guys. 22 of you showed up to talk. Thank you. The bot bomb was fun. We got any more questions? 800 millimeters to 1,000 millimeters motor. Okay. Anybody here race X Class or fly X Class? Definitely. You're right, Sardonic. I keep wanting to call you Sardonic, as in Han Solo. Big Data Pimp built a 10-inch on a polycarbon frame you made. It's amazing how bad it flies. Yeah, I mean, just you think our little 5-inch or 6-inch quads are hard to tune. I can only imagine. Zora was here. I don't think he's here anymore. I think he went back to bot stream. I forgot about beers with bot grinder. I didn't need to jump in on that one. Zorro, you may see more Zorro starting tomorrow or Sunday. I don't know if it is going to be tomorrow, to be honest with you. It might be Sunday. I think I'll edit it tomorrow. He was fun. And then a little tip, if you watch, we got an Easter egg in the end of Bot Grinder's video that might let you call Zorro. For the 19 of you that are fun around. Oh, Bot just finished his. Yeah, Night Train, I just felt like coming out and doing a live stream. It was just like, I'm going to come. interact with the crowd. But Doc Murdoch, this is I probably shouldn't admit this, but I've never tuned a quad. I don't have the patience for it. So I can't imagine trying to fly something bigger than I flew a 6-inch for a while, and that was a lot of fun, but I had a lot of electrical noise. I was using the Beta Flight F3 flight controller, and even with the cap, I was getting a lot of really bad video electrical noise, and ended up I actually passed it on to a friend who lost his quad. It went on to live a happy life in many different formats. How many of you guys here fly MQC? They're having a resurrection moment. I'm very excited. I'm a fusion flyer myself, so I'm excited that I might be able to get my fusion again and see some of the. Apparently they've made some updates to the fusion in a couple different formats, which has kind of got me excited. So, R. Hampson, you're late to the show, man. I interviewed him last night. You'll see him. And like I was telling the other folks, it was interviewing Bot Grinder was quite an experience and probably the most interesting interview I've done today. Woo! All right, well, let's see if we got one last question. Is this thing on? Yes, Mediocre FPV, it is on. Detail must be so hard to fly. Doc Murdoch said his first was a DIY flight test backbone detail with a KK2 mini board 3S on 6-inch box and flew great. There you go. My favorite interview, I think my favorite interview so far has been, I will say this, let me not talk about favorites. Let me talk about the most surprising was Bot Grinder. And we got deep. I mean, we got deep, and it was fun, but it was serious too in a lot of ways. And probably the most anticlimactic was Trappy. Trappy was. I really expected this guy to like breathe fire, and he was so chill and so laid back. And that was like, I was almost like disappointed. Like I really wanted to see this guy breathe fire. And I asked him some hard questions, and he got into it. And there was a couple moments where you kind of see a flash of like probably that fire that's in there. But that was an almost anticlimactic, probably the most business-like interview that I've had. Because he had a time schedule. It was my morning, and we had to get in and get out. And so, but it turned into a really great interview, and I'm glad that I did it. And he's already talked about wanting to come back on for a second go round. So that was fun. I think, I mean, obviously interviewing Chad Kapler was a blast, just because Chad's always fun to talk to. Yeah, Team Black Sheep. Trappy teased something on my live stream, and I don't know if this is what it is, but I think they might be doing video over the Crossfire link. I'm not 100% certain, but that's what Trappy kind of like hinted at, and if that's the case, then that would be a game changer for the industry. But we'll see. I don't know if that's really what he was talking about. He said that in the next 2 to 3 months they're going to introduce something they've been working on for 4 years, and I don't know. I mean, he said it was also backwards compatible with a lot of the existing tech that they've got in the market. And so I'm like, the thing that makes the most sense if they've put all this effort into radio control, put a backlink channel, and allow you to see your video feed on Crossfire. It'd be amazing. Let's see. There was someone that asked, who did you interview that taught you something you didn't expect? Mediocre. I think that's probably why I enjoyed the bot grinder interview so much, because like there was a real. I can't talk too much about it because I don't want to give away the surprise. But there was a real humanity to it that was surprising and good, and taught me a lot about, kind of validated some of the ways that I think, and also really taught me about how I could pay it forward and bless people in the future. Dr. Murdoch, I would love to. Bruce and I have actually, we haven't chatted on Facebook or anything. We've conversed in the comments, and I would love to get him on. I feel like he's just such a font of knowledge. I wouldn't even know where to start asking him, like, I probably would just come on and say, okay, talk. So that would be a fun one. But Bruce is a good guy. I like his. I periodically binge on his content just to learn things, so that's good. And yeah, Sardronic Chad is a great guy. The funny part was when I filmed, going back to Trappy, if you look at the videos again, when I filmed my intro and outro, I was wearing my Rear Riot shirt, and Trappy had asked, he's like, can I just see an advanced copy? He's like, I don't want to change anything, but I would love to see what you're going to put out. And so I sent him a copy, and I realized I had put the Rotor Riot shirt on. Maybe it's not visible, and he picked up on it right away. He was like, "Man, that's a great Rotor Riot shirt you got on while you're introducing me." And I said, "You know what, man? Listen, I don't want to show any disrespect. I will change it. I'll go refilm the intros and outros." It's like, this is fine. It's the way it is. Mediocre FPV. Keep people getting in questions now. Let's see. Is the interview process gone the way you expected it, or is this channel growing? Man, mediocre. I did not expect any growth whatsoever. I mean, I was growing at like maybe 4 to 5 people per week, and I was almost at 600 subs, and the Chad and Capper interview just took off, and it was gratifying. And then what happened was I had all this back content that people could go look at, and while it wasn't interview content, which is what I think really people want to see, there was a history there that people could go back and validate that I was legit, I was real, I've had this message from it for a while, and it was surprising how much I've grown. Like, to give you an idea, I started out the year with a goal to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I hit 1,000 subscribers like 23, 24 days after. 24 or 26 days after I did the Chad Capper interview, and now I'm almost at 2,000, and it doesn't really show any signs of slowing down. Got people blowing me up now. Let's see what it is. Let's see, we got more questions. Big Data Pimp, that's a good question. What is the top thing that got the people you interviewed into FPV? Trip Flip, I will absolutely interview you and become famous, maybe even before. I think that the thing that probably, the sense of wonder that comes with flying FPV, like, once you've done it for 3 or 4 years, you maybe forget that, like, this is kind of freaking magic. And everybody that started FPV saw it, fell in love with it, decided they wanted to do it, and just basically bash their head against a wall until they can do it. You know, there's a few exceptions, guys like Trappy and Vanover had already had stick time on RC model stuff, and it was just a natural progression into FPV once they finally figured it out. But a lot of times, the majority of the folks I've interviewed that have been flying FPV say that, you know, it's just the initial just awe of it. Peace, Sardrona. Thanks, Sky and Water. Let's see. I'm just catching up here. What is it talking about? Bruce, yes, Bruce. Yeah, we already. Yeah, Bruce would definitely be a good interview. Trip Flip, I'll definitely interview. Hello, Daniel Dillon. Good to see you, buddy. FPV and build. So during FPV and building therapy. Trip Flip. You know, one thing I'll say this is that R. Hampson, I reached out to Mr. Steele, but I imagine that guy is just inundated with messages. So Eric Konasty, or however you pronounce his last name, I might have a better chance of talking to him. But also, I kind of get the vibe that like that's not their thing. And then I hope it comes through now, but like, so Mediocre, I would love to interview Steele. And not because of the views, but because I feel like he is a unique dude, and I think he would be, I mean, I've already learned some very interesting things from him. You know, I learned there was he did this thing one day. So it's going, if you go way back into his videos, before he started the van life thing, he was dating this girl, he broke up with her, and you could tell the breakup was really hard on him. And it was right around the time, I think, that Ray Riot thing was about to end. It was just a huge transition point in his life. And he picked up this habit of, he called it like something like New Tuesdays or something. He would try something new every Tuesday. And that got my wheels turning into, you know, what if I like started scheduling things? Anyways, I ended up putting a lot more stick time in because I started scheduling stick time. And I learned that from Steele, and it seemed like such a minor thing, but I got a lot better because of it. So I would love to interview him and just talk to him about something like that. And how much does he fly? Jack Fu. Have you ever had a mental block where you can pull off all of your tricks but lost your ability to get into a flow? How do you find that? I'll be honest with you, and I talked about this with Drew. I don't know that I've ever found flow. When I go out to fly, I get 3 or 4 batteries at most. And part of that is because I've got 3 very active kids, I've got a wife, and I also have a job that up until this week was requiring 60 to 80 hours a week. So it's very hard for me to get into, like, I don't even know what people mean when they say flow. Like, I don't know that I've ever experienced it. But what I can tell you is that once I'm familiar with my equipment, a lot of times I can sit down and bust out the things that I'm looking to get in the first pass. And I actually get sloppier from now on. So I don't know, maybe I've got anti-flow. What is the percent of questions you ask because you want to know versus what you think your viewers want to know about? So Mediocre, that's a good question. I don't know that there's a strict percentage. And like typically what I'll do for an interview, and sometimes I do this and sometimes I don't, is I put together like a list of 10 questions. And those 10 questions represent possible questions I can bounce to if if I run out of material, right? If the interview stalls or slows down, I typically only ask 3 or 4 of them at most. And oftentimes what I find is that the interview itself takes on its own shape. And so all of a sudden you're just talking and you realize, hey, we've been talking about this topic for 20 minutes. And now it's time, I feel like we've explored it, and it's time to turn to something else. But a lot of times that somewhere else is something you've already talked about. And so you just refer back to that. So I don't know that I go into it thinking, it's definitely a lot of curiosity on my part, but there's also an element of storytelling in it, because like it'd be really boring if I just asked questions and got answers. But what I try to go for instead is like, I ask a question, but I actually have an underlying thing that I want to hit and I want to get into with the interviewee. And so there's oftentimes a story that I'm trying to ask them before. Sometimes that doesn't work out. But a lot of times there's a pretty obvious story that needs to be told, and so I go for that story. And I just ask questions, but I let them tell it in their own words, which I think is what a lot of people do. Hello again, Wheats FPV. Your buddy Cricket was talking about you. Let me catch back up. Rob Kriag, Cray, I want the control of, I don't like building. It's not my favorite thing. I prefer to repair as opposed to build. And maybe with the new way that flight controllers are being put together, I might get out of that. I would almost rather buy an RTF that's really good, but then you can't get the performance for the cost, and so it's like, I don't know. My latest build, this one, I actually called my buddy Rob Garland and offered him a bunch of money to build it for me because I just didn't have time. It's one of the Pyrodrone F4, 4 or 5 motors or flight controllers. The Zerling 4-in-1 ESC, first time I've used a 4-in-1. The Indy Primo 2207, 2550 KV motors, and then just a little micro cam. And I'm not flying Crossfire or anything. I'm flying typical Tyrannus stuff. And this is the last of my very ancient VTXs. I think I'm going to go to Unify next, but I called Rob and I was like, "Hey, dude, what can I pay you to build?" And he was awesome. He was like, "I'll build it for you, but you can't." And so I got him all my parts, and about 2 weeks later, there he is, Loco FPV. Yes, thank you, Rob. Man, I appreciate it, buddy. Look, and it's a good fly too. Adam Solis, yeah, I could probably slam it down, but then I'd have to get rid of my my crutch 3D printed parts that keep everything safe. Is my audio? It might be my voice breaking up. Is the audio clear? Adam Solis, I really don't know what you said, but it's okay, man. Yeah, that might be my actual voice as opposed to the audio. My voice has been giving me a hard time. It's also possible. I mean, I'm on at least I got but yeah, Rob, we were talking about the NPC newness. I'm excited for it. We didn't talk about any specifics because I don't know any specifics. Thank you very much for teasing me but not actually showing me anything. Yeah, the NPC stuff is good. All right, audio is better. Let's see. Let's catch back up. Doc Murdoch was flying FPV in 1986. That's intense. Who's the old man Simpson? Jack Fu, I'll be honest with you, I am an MQC diehard. And I like the bus style, and I love the squished X on the fusions. And I like the fact that that gives a higher moment of inertia to roll as opposed to pitch. I don't have a problem with pitch, but I roll a little too much. And so that gives a little bit higher moment of inertia. So I have flown fusions and will continue to fly fusions until I can get them anymore. That's pretty much what I fly. How much thought do you put into selecting a friendly ground stations? Like, yeah. Doc Murdoch was talking about flying in FPV in 1986. That's intense. Oh, Bruce Simpson. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were talking about that earlier. So get next jet. Sorry, if you'd said Bruce, I probably would have known exactly who you were talking about. He and I have chatted on comments, but we haven't actually set anything up yet. Yeah, the Fusion's great, man. I mean, it's a solid build. I think I've broken maybe two arms in the time that I've flown it, and one of them was from like a really massive. Actually, I don't think I broke that arm. I think I broke I had one crash that I bounced off a pine tree from like 60 feet up, and trying was like one of my first dives, and it ended up snapping the bolts, but it didn't damage the arm, which I thought was pretty impressive. Let's see. So here's a question. Is Siggy Nowak and Chad Nowak, are they related? I assume they are, since they're both from Australia, but maybe people with last names in Australia are not all related to each other. Stupid Americans. I don't think so, but maybe Siggy is his dad. Okay. Chad, I will say this: the guy that got me into this 100% is Chad Noah. His video Hawaii balls was just unreal. And I remember watching that and thinking, this is what I want to do. That dive down the waterfall was unreal, and still is to this day. I get goosebumps every time I watch it. 507 RC. I mean, if you hit the palm tree, I can see it exploding your props. But also, you got to remember that pine needles are basically just giant bags of water and sap. So they probably, Rob, who's your daddy? So I can imagine that pine needles are not good on props. So you know what? I don't think I've ever watched any of Siggy's stuff. It would be an interesting interview. Yeah, that would be interesting. And I would love to interview Chad Nowak at some point in the future. I just don't know that now is the right time for him. To Daniel Dillon, my FPV story. Just pause for 1 second. Florida mosses, yeah, I can see how that would be nasty. Just clipping one pine branch. Oh yeah, if you clip the branch, it's all over. And it's all. I think it goes back to how much water they keep on. Because it's pretty brutal when you hit them. Who would I like to be interviewed by? Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan or Seth Rogen. That might be let's see, going back to my IPV story. Yeah, I think he would. I may. I will admit I have some reservations about that right at the moment. I think I'm probably a little too closely associated with Rotor Riot, and I don't know that that would sit well with him. I might be wrong, and maybe I should give the guy the opportunity to tell his own story. But one of the things I really try to avoid very hard is any kind of back and forth in my interviews. And most folks are way willing to do it. And quite honestly, I haven't reached out to Chad. I would love to talk to him. I don't know if now's the right time. We have to see. Great job, Chad. We're going to see him do it. So Wheats, someone did say no, and I'm not going to say who, and it was for very valid reasons. It was just not the right time. But I've had people say no, and it's. I mean, like there's a certain amount of like if I get a big name like Trappion, it is it is it's a boost to my channel because he's such a big name. And for some of the bigger pilots, like there's not as much, there's a lot of risk versus reward in being interviewed by somebody like me. I've got maybe 2,000 subscribers. I'm not huge in terms of who gets to see all my content. I think I maybe hit a little bit above my weight, but not that far. And so for somebody that is coming out of a drama-filled situation, and they don't know me, and they don't have any relationship to me or anything other than the interviews I've done, I can understand why they would. God, if I could, man, everybody is like, get Sharku on. If I could get Sharku on, that would be amazing. I would love to interview Merrick too. I have a lot of good questions I would ask Merrick because I feel like he and Johnny and a few other guys are pushing the hobby into what it will actually become, which is an extension of true videography. So it's good to hear. Thank you for the respect, Leeds. I like to hear that. Yeah, I don't want to dig into the bad stuff. I really want it to be positive, but I want to get the truth. So one guy, someone just asked who has my backlog. I think it's about 5 deep and growing. But Charpu, yeah, Charpu is the FPV. You know what, man? Mediocre. I don't know. I don't follow people outside of FPV, so I don't really know. A lot of people have said Bruce XJet, which would be a good interview, but he's in FPV, but he also does a lot of other stuff too. So I'll tell you who I would love to interview is Jesse Perkins. I think that would be a fun interview. I would love to see him, and I guarantee he would wear his glasses the whole interview. I guarantee it. Josh Critchler from Flight Test would be a great interview. I think my voice is going to run out here soon. Yeah, so I reached out to Jesse, but I think he's another guy that's inundated. I reached out to about 3 or 4 really high-profile guys, and I've heard back from one of them. But like I said, now wasn't the time for him. But we'll see. If any of you know Jesse Perkins personally and want to recommend him to me, or me to him, that'd be great. Are there any politicians that maybe something like an AMA rep you want to interview? I'd have to think about that, and that would be a different interview. I don't know that I want to interview a politician, um, but an AMA rep might be interesting just because I'd like to dig into. There's like a love-hate relationship with FPV and the AMA, and I think it's not for obvious reasons. I think everybody just assumes it's a bunch of old fogies that like, dislike the new stuff, and I think it has other reasons. I think there are other reasons. And I would love to dig into that. But also, we kind of get seen as like, we're a bunch of cowboys running around just flying like we want to. And I think that makes the AMA's job, the perception of their job harder. Jack Food Zora will be rolling out in about 2-3 days. Daniel, I could interview a pastor. I'd love to interview my pastor, but I don't know how much FPV content there would be in that. I'm catching up. Bruce the Moose, people a good word. I need Bruce the Moose. Mediocre, I agree. I think they see us as a liability. But that would be something I'd like to dig into. Maybe I'll reach out to someone from the inside. 507, I don't know if you were here earlier, but I interviewed Bob Runner last night. And his interview just went totally different than I expected. It was very good, and I enjoyed it. Bob Runner, Rob Cray. Let's see who's still. Lisa's going to hook me up with a wing pastor. That would be cool. Yeah, Bot was great. I got to say that the Bach Reiner interview so far has been my favorite. It was the most different from all the others. So let's see. Yeah, I love to interview the bit models. Mike Grimsley, I need a sidekick. We'll see, man. We'll see. I will say this. Speaking of wholesome, I fly with my boys, and we try to go out periodically. I did not know that. I guess I lead a sheltered life. I did not know that this community was so reefer heavy, if you'll take my meaning. Which was it's so funny because that's one of the things that Zora and I talk about. It gets hysterical. I need a band. All right. I think I'm going to. Jack Fu, I interviewed Cricket last week. He was also a good interview. So, all right, gentlemen, and if there are any ladies in also, I think we're going to call it. We're at about an hour now. My voice is giving out. I ran out of water. This was really fun. But yeah, there's a lot of folks that I want to interview. I don't see this thing slowing down anytime soon, and I think there's a lot of good stories to tell. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you showing up and hanging out while I read questions and ramble. And we will definitely do this very, very soon. Peace out.